Personal Log, Commander Timoteusz Sorensen, Vanguard Delta-Se. I have neglected my log keeping these past few weeks, and there is much that I must now record. Following our escape from Enea, we were left again to the mercy of our navigator's whims. Our course plotted for the Caria system. In the interim, there wasn't much for the crew to do, other than routine training on the simulators, and making sure that Music Box was well taken care of in the medbay. Her injuries weren't terribly serious, but it would still take her the better part of 2 weeks to recover. Once we had arrived in orbit and completed the relevant customs procedures, I inquired if the local government had any use for our services. To my dismay, they did not. I decided, however, that it would be a good idea to allow the crew some time for shore leave before we set off for the next system. With the first group down on the surface, I looked over our company's finances to consider our options. Despite the hours I spent agonizing over the figures, the outcome was always the same. While we did have enough funds to make it to another system, we would not have enough money for repairs should we find ourselves stuck in a poor engagement. I was in my office long enough that the first shore leave group had returned, and the call for second group was coming through the intercom. I decided to take my mind off things and made my way to the dropship with the second group. Once on the ground, I tried to find a bar with a good atmosphere, but everywhere I went near the starport was packed. After an hour of wandering, I decided to look for a bar in the city's poor southern quarter. At some point, Condor found me and asked to tag along, after her own efforts to find a good, rowdy bar proved fruitless. Though I was in a brooding mood, her brash enthusiasm inspired me to cut loose a little and ditch my melancholy for the time being. Before too long, we found a suitably dingy dive bar with happy hour in full swing. 27 beers and 3 broken chairs later, we had attracted the attention of some enterprising individuals, and were enjoying a discussion about the possibility of a mutually beneficial exchange of services. Hours later, I was back aboard the ship informing my crew that I had just scored us a contract. When I woke up the next morning, altogether too sober, I had a quick chat with Ralph, got ready, and proceeded to brief my mech warriors on our mission. Our employers this time would be the local pirate organization. Recently, the planetary government had taken more interest in their actions on one of the other continents, and they were organizing a heavy strike against their central supply hub on said continent. Our task would be to intercept one of the Davian units while they are still deploying to the operational theater and eliminate them. Meanwhile, the pirates would evacuate their material assets from the targeted supply base, and they would hold off the other units themselves. Thankfully, no one had any strong opinions to voice about our new employers, let alone the job, and the usual crew was more than willing to do the drop, once they heard we were getting over 430,000 C-bills for our trouble. That said, the matter of finding a replacement for Music Box remained. The mech warriors that had been left as reserves till now were quite eager to finally get their chance to go out into the field. And after having them draw straws, Piranha won the privilege of piloting the Dart. We began our descent when night had fallen on our target. Pirate intelligence had located a lance of units deploying on the shores of a lake surrounded by high cliffs, likely to obscure them from radar before they began their strike. We landed on one of the plateaus overlooking the lake and made our advance. Condor took the initiative and jumped into the low ground, lighting up a Scorpion tank. Just as I thought we had caught the Davian force with its pants down, a salvo of LRMs streaked in from the left flank, impacting on the ground around me. I sent Piranha to resolve some radar pings on the flanking force, while he threw his own LRM salvo at our targeted Scorpion, stripping the remainder of its frontal armor. While more missiles streaked towards me, Ninja also threw the liquid into the low ground, dialing in the kill on the Scorpion. I chose to stay in the high ground to support Piranha, and got visual confirmation on a Dervish 6M, which I peppered with my LRM-5. As if in response, a PPC blast arced its way towards my mech, impacting on the small hill separating me from the Davian reinforcements. I couldn't say the same about the third salvo of LRMs that flew my way. This is when the remaining forces at the lake made their move. A Spider 5V and a Mongoose 67 charged out of the tree line, targeting their lasers on the welder, while a Goblin tank launched missiles at the liquid from the opposing high ground. Having caught us securely in their trap, the reinforcing Valkyrie QA moved into the visual range, harassing me with LRMs. While I was busy evading the majority of the missile salvo, another PPC bolt arced towards my left leg, evaporating its armor and rattling the internals. All the while, more missiles rained down around me. Meanwhile, in the low ground, the Spider and the Mongoose were closing in on the welder and the liquid, assailing them with laser fire. Seeing that Ninja was under threat, Condor jumped to engage the Mongoose, splashing it with flames and machine guns. I ordered Piranha to support the low ground. During his jump, he made the questionable decision to target his missiles on the Goblin, rather than the Mongoose. Ninja took his cue and jumped away from his assailant, while sending some parting shots their way. After taking another salvo of LRMs from the Dervish, with my left leg nearing destruction, and with nearly 2 full lances of well-armored mechs bearing down on us, I broadcast on an open channel the order to stand down, as well as the request for honors of war. The Davian force accepted my request and instructed us to exit our mechs. The Lance commanders exited their own mechs and moved to greet us on the plateau. With the Mongoose leveling its medium lasers at us, we entered into a negotiation for the ransom of our mechs and our lives. The senior Lance leader informed us that an agent of the planetary government had overheard my chat with the shady character in the dive bar, that Condor and I had half destroyed during a brawl I only vaguely remembered. He went on to gloat that the intel fed to the pirates was all a ruse to draw our force into an ambush with the aim of eliminating us. However, given our quick surrender, and in light of my condition when I accepted the pirate contract, the senior Lance leader was willing to present us with an ultimatum. We keep our mechs and our lives, but in exchange, we must assist the Davian force with the assault on the pirate supply base come morning, and we must also assist them in eradicating any pirate remnants that might escape today's engagement. With no other choice, I pledged my force to assist the planetary government. Once the ultimatum had been cleared with command, we were permitted to re-enter our mechs, and shortly before dawn broke, we set off for the pirate base. The assault on the pirate base was a milk run. There was no significant opposition outside of a scattering of turrets which we picked off from range, and the demolition op went by without a hitch. We received reports from the other Davian groups that all but one of the pirate units had been dispatched, and we were instructed to debrief at the nearest Davian outpost. After submitting our report, we were given permission to make repairs aboard our carrier, while local reconnaissance would hunt down the remaining pirate unit. To make sure we wouldn't try anything funny, the planetary government assigned a full aerospace wing to shadow us in orbit. A few days later, we were informed that the recon units had located the pirate Lance, and we were to be on our way within the hour. Furthermore, it was impressed upon us that we weren't going to be receiving any assistance from local forces. With Music Box still stuck in medical, Piranha dropped again with Ninja, Condor, and myself. On the way down, I couldn't help but hope that this was going to be the end of it. We touched down in a desert valley and advanced towards a low-ground radar contact, which revealed itself to be another goddamn Stinger 3G. Ninja was the first to engage, with Condor close behind. Together, they were able to open up its left torso. At that moment, a Shadowhawk 2H moved into visual range on the high ground, and sent an AC-5 slug towards the liquid, narrowly missing its mark. Piranha moved to continue assaulting the Stinger, and with a salvo of my own, I was able to remove the damaged left torso. The Stinger attempted to disengage, and it seemed as though Ninja had moved to jump after it. He surprised me by training his guns on the Shadowhawk instead. Condor saw Ninja make his move, and jumped to focus her fire on the same target, tagging both of its legs. Piranha 2 forgot about the Stinger, and launched his missiles at the enemy medium mech. The Shadowhawk pilot returned fire at the liquid, missing it again, and I too lent my guns to the party. The Stinger continued its retreat, and Welder closed to flamer range, stripping the armor off the Shadowhawk's left arm. After another LRM salvo from Piranha, Ninja elected to fall back, inspiring the Shadowhawk to do the same. I closed the range and tagged the Hawk while the Stinger flanked behind me to tag the Welder. Ninja moved in to assist with the newly emboldened Stinger, while Piranha continued to focus his missiles on the Hawk. Condor, with a flurry of slurs and curses, charged down the Stinger that had dared to damage her baby, shoulder-checking it hard enough to blow off the right arm. The flamers and machine guns took care of the remainder of the right torso, and the pilot bugged out. The favor was returned to her in similar fashion, as the Shadowhawk made a beeline for the Welder, smacking it hard enough to nearly rip off the left torso. He did leave his rear arc heavily exposed, and I took my opportunity to strip the armor off his rear CT. Condor, incensed with rage, jumped in behind the Hawk and dumped a full alpha strike into its rear arc, detonating its SRM ammo store and annihilating its fusion core. With the battle done, and no other contacts on sensors, we called our dropship down for pickup. Though we hadn't officially negotiated for any battlefield salvage, our agreement with the planetary forces had not stipulated that we could not claim any salvage for ourselves. We were able to nab a few Shadowhawk and Stinger parts, alongside a medium laser, a heatsink, and a jump jet, and some AC-5 and LRM ammo bins before the Davian command started getting nosy. Additionally, while we were sifting through the wreckage of the Shadowhawk, we came across a lockbox containing a stash of C-bills totaling 162,750. A tidy bonus that would make up for the transportation costs we had incurred thus far. Once we had gotten our haul aboard the carrier, we had a final debrief with the planetary government. We were informed that the other two mechs belonging to the lands we engaged had been apprehended roughly 400 kilometers west of where we had touched down. With all four mechs eliminated or captured, the local pirate presence had been removed, and our remedial service was complete. Once the wing of aerospace fighters had broken off to RTB, I had our navigator plot a course to one of the neighboring systems, and we all began to settle in for the journey. In my quarters, I sat down behind my desk to look over the finances that had gotten us embroiled in this whole mess. Just as I was thinking that our situation had neither improved nor deteriorated, I heard the unmistakable click of a hammer cocking, and felt the cold press of steel against the back of my head.